Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Livewire TV. If it's your first time here today, joining us, welcome. Super happy that you are here today. Livewire TV is the place where we like to talk all about business strategies, mindset strategies, and marketing strategies. And we're actually a part of Livewire Media, where we do corporate photography and videography and video marketing too. So each week, we always like to have really interesting conversations all around strategies, inspiration, and I am super excited to bring on my next guest for you guys this evening, the amazing Lincoln. Now, before I bring him in, Lincoln has he's lived the dream as a musician. I mean, most musicians would only dream of achieving the things that he has done. He's performed in some amazing concert halls. He's even performed in front of Her Royal Majesty herself, the Queen Elizabeth II of England. And he's just a fun, super infectious guy. And you're going to absolutely love him. We're going to be talking today all about his journey and how he really crushed it in the music game with just him and his piano. So I'm going to bring him on now for you guys. Lincoln, welcome to Livewire TV.
Yes, hello. It's great to be here. Thanks, Rohini.
No problem. Guys, if you have a question for Lincoln, drop them in the comment section below. We are broadcasting across LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Get your questions in and do share this out with people as well, because you never know who it's going to add value to, and they would have you to thank for sharing this out with them. Lincoln, I feel like your life is just a book. You really have achieved the dream for a lot of people. Now, I know you're going to be super humble. I know you're going to say, oh, no.
No, I'm going to boast about it all for the whole hour that we're here. It is so what it is. You know, sorry.
Let's start with your backstory then, because, I mean, did you wake up and just think, I want to play the piano and I want to go global?
Not quite, almost. When I was really tiny, my mum tells me that I used to get all the pots and pans and beat rhythms on them. So as I've said, I should really have been a drummer, because that's I don't know where that came from, because there's, I had a cousin, Eddie, and two cousins, Eddie and Elton. Elton was playing the piano and was really good. And I was in awe of him. Eddie later became a bass player. So Elton was my only sort of role model to watch as a musician. And then later I was watching people on the telly. I got sent at, my mum decided, having gone through two sets of pans, that I really needed to do something to see what this creative energy was all about, and went to Elton's piano teacher. So Elton was 12 years older than me. He's passed on, sadly. 12 years older than me. So I went to Molly the day I started school. So kids get excited about reception. So my first day in reception was at St. James Infant School, and then after school I went across the road, literally. The people who know Northampton and St. James, there's the big clock. I went literally opposite the big clock to Molly Tomlin's house and had my first lesson, which was 15 minutes. So I had two 15-minute lessons for a couple of weeks, and then she decided actually that I'd be probably better to do the 30 minutes. So I had half-an-hour lessons. And I think in that year, I can't remember the exact dates, because my dad wrote everything down and everything's in storage at the moment. But I've got to look this up because I'm writing the book about it. But at some point in that year, he took me to the Corby Festival Hall, and we saw the violinist Yehudi Menuhin. And we had one of the last tickets. So we were at the back of the hall. It was live on Radio 3. It was the BBC Symphony Orchestra. So this was big time. We were live on the radio. It was Yehudi Menuhin, who was world famous. At a time when classical musicians were on mainstream TV and they could be famous if they were really good. And I watched this guy who I'd seen on TV play one of Mozart's violin concertos, and he just looked immaculate. And I remember turning to my dad and saying, yeah, this is what I want to do. Wear nice clothes and play for nice people. And that's where the seed really started. Also, I mean, in the back of my mind, I wanted to be a star footballer as well, but the piano was always just in front of the football, and the football kind of took a back seat from probably the age of 14, 15.
And was it always the piano that you were drawn to? Because there's so many like instruments out there. Was it always the piano?
Yeah, and the violin. I love orchestras. I love orchestras now, and I wanted to be part of that. And I realised very quickly that I wasn't going to be part of that. So I took up the violin. I tried a couple of times at primary school, or I should say junior school, because we had infants up to year 2 and then juniors up to year 6. And when I went to Rylands Middle, because we had a 3-tier system in Northamptonshire, and in year 7 I took up the violin. Now by that point my piano was very advanced, but by taking up the violin I was able to join an orchestra, first the school orchestra, then the county junior orchestra, then the county youth training orchestra, and at 15 I got into the county youth orchestra, which was the one that played all the concert halls. We played the Albert Hall, we played in Vienna, we played in Salzburg, we played in Belgium, we played at the Festival Hall. That was my first royal concert. That was the Duchess of Princess Alexandra. We played for, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. There are certain things that I couldn't have done if I hadn't have played the violin, because that feeling of playing the great symphonies and the great works and Indiana Jones and Superman, and I mean, yes, I can play that stuff on the piano, but to be part of the music as you hear it, I got to do with the violin, and that, of course, introduced me to lots and lots of other musicians. So through the violin, I sort of made lots and lots of connections, but everybody knew I played the piano. But the real musical people, the people that mattered, that could get me through the critical doors onto the real places like music college and scholarships, came through my orchestral connections.
Was it a case of who you know, not necessarily what you know?
I think it's also about timing. I think timing is everything. You know, I was lucky that Elson was there playing the piano. I was lucky that Molly Tomlin was a great teacher, and she took me under her wing and was very strict. I mean, we lost Molly in 2004, and we had lots and lots of conversations in my adult life about what I was doing. And she was always conscious of where I was. Behind my back, she was very, very proud of me, but she never told me I was great. She never told me I was great, but she was aware of what I was doing and how I was doing it. And then she conceded. I was with her for 11 years. So from reception right up to GCSE, I was with her. And then in sixth form, I went to London to another teacher. And all the things that happened at the right time. And my parents, who aren't musicians, just took the trick was that they took good advice from the right people and acted on it, spent the money, paid for the lessons. We applied for a scholarship. I got that. That enabled me to go to London. The connections were made. And, you know, I think as the interview goes, I will, you know, the critical things that have happened, like playing for the royal family, everybody gets given opportunities. And the thing is that you've got to take your opportunity. You can't be Mystic Meg and know that this is the one. This is the one. Just like, you know, we're in business. You know, you interview guys who are in business, and Bruce was on last week, and he talked about SEO and getting yourself in front of the right people, getting the right information in your website so that the right eyeballs can do the paying. And the thing is that you don't know which customer, which person is going to make you great. You just have to take opportunities and user instinct. So, my teacher, the man who has since passed on, Malcolm Tyler, who was the head of music in Northampton, who was the conductor of the Northamptonshire Youth Orchestra, said to me, Lincoln, you've been with Molly for 10 years. You need another teacher at a different level. And I waited for a year. I resisted because this was my security. I knew where I was with this person. And she said to me, you need to go to somebody else. And 12 months later, I took that leap of faith, got on the train as a 16-year-old and went to London for my piano lessons. First time with my sister, because I'd never traveled on the train on my own. I meet adults who tell me they've never been to London. And the idea of going to London is quite daunting. I mean, as children, we went to London all the time. We've got relatives in London. But the idea of going on the train on my own, I couldn't quite do it. So Gervis, someone knows watching, she's an accountant, by the way. And she came with me for that first trip. And then I thought, actually, this is okay. Going to London, massive step, leaving home. All the people, I'm always looking at successful people. And the one thing I've noticed with people who are successful in art and sport is that you have to leave where you live to pursue, to achieve excellence. And going to London at 16 was critical. I'd always decided, actually, Rahini, when I did my first grade and I looked at my exam book, I've got an exam book here. This is grade 8. This is what it looked like now. In the old days, at the top, it used to say the Royal Schools of Music, and it would list.
Closer to the camera, just so that.
Here we go. So that's, I've just taught Peter, who's just doing grade 8. At the top of the page in the old days, it used to say the Royal Schools of Music, and then there were 4 music colleges: the Royal Academy, the Royal College, the Royal Northern, and the Royal Scottish Academy. So at the age of 6, I decided I needed to go to one of those places if I was going to be taken seriously. And then as I started going to concerts with my dad, I realized that all of the main soloists, the best soloists I saw, whether it was at the Proms, whether it was at the Town Hall in Northampton, Spinney Hill Hall, the Corby Festival Hall, or wherever we went, they all had studied at one of those 4 colleges. It's a bit like, for the football fans out there, if you really want to be a great footballer, you've got to play in the Champions League. So you've got to play for Liverpool or Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester City, Manchester United. You've got to be in that space if you want to play against the best and really challenge yourself. So I thought, if I'm going to be in the conversation, I've got to go to one of those places. And at 18, when I was applying for music college, my teacher said, you need to fill out an UCA form, and go to university. And I said, no, I'm not going to university. I'm going to the Royal Academy of Music. And they kept saying, if you don't get there. And I thought that was really negative, because I was having lessons with a teacher who was teaching there. And I was already in that space. I knew that I could do this. All I had to do was satisfy the audition. And out of the 4, I went for 3 of them. I didn't go to the one in Glasgow, but I went to the Royal Northern, I went to the Royal College, and I went to the Royal Academy. And it's only because they all had the word Royal on the front. We now have, where you are in Birmingham, you've got the Conservatoire, you've got Trinity College in London, which is in Greenwich, and you've got Guildhall, which is attached to the Barbican, and they're great colleges too, and there are lots and lots of others. But because I didn't know anybody who was in the music space, so my gut feel was right. Got to get to the best place, and this is the best place. Let me get here, which I did at 18, and then we'll see what happens from there. So, but to answer your original question, I think you've got to. Well, I was going to say,
it's really remarkable that you decided where you want to go at the age of 6. Like what direction you wanted to take your life in, pretty much. I mean, when I was 6, I was just thinking, well, what colour crayon do I choose?
Yeah, so, I mean, look, people always think, oh, he was a child prodigy and he practiced for 10, 11 hours a day. All of my friends who many are watching this on Facebook around the country, around the world, who know Lincoln growing up will know that Lincoln was a very normal boy, played football, went to the boys' brigade, played out in the street. I did all of that. They all know that I did my piano practice. My neighbours, if you lined up all my neighbours, they all remember me practicing the piano with the windows open. But
Yeah.
I still went out and played and did everything that was normal. I just had this particular ambition. I didn't think it was any stranger than anybody else's, because everybody, if you ask a 6-year-old, what do you want to be? And they say, well, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to play for Aston Villa, or I want to be a policeman, I want to be a bus driver, I want to be a fireman. I just wanted to be a pianist. The only difference is that I held on to that dream all the way to 18, whereas I noticed by the age of 13, 14, that all of those kids were having different conversations. And I didn't understand why they stopped having those conversations, because I felt that their ambitions were as valid as mine. So I didn't think of myself as being extraordinary. I was just good at what I did, and other people were good at what they did. I wasn't the cleverest in the class. I was very good at. The people who went to school with me will say, Lincoln, yeah, played the piano, brilliant at sport. I was very fast, good sprinter, always captain of the football team. I was captain of most of the teams I played for. I was a fast bowler. I was captain of all the cricket teams. I was captain of the school rugby team, the house team. I was always house captain. I always had those kind of leadership roles. But I didn't think, oh, yeah, I'm really quite extraordinary. It's only when I kind of got into the sixth form and I noticed that people kept asking me, are you still playing the piano? And I thought, they keep asking me if I'm still playing the piano. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, why wouldn't I? I said I was going to be a pianist. It's like starting the journey from Birmingham. You say to your folks, I'm going to London. You don't stop when you get to Milton Keynes. You go to London, you say, whichever way, A38, M6, M1, pull off at Staples Corner, I'm in London. For me, it was that simplistic. What I was lucky about is that I had people who mentored me well and drove and accepted the dream. Nobody ever said to me, in my headspace, oh, you'll never do it. It was more of a case, stick at it and you'll get there.
Yeah. It's that consistency, isn't it, that's compounded over time.
Yeah. And I still say, I mean, I teach the piano and I say to kids, what do you want to be? And they tell me, and I always say to them, you can be that. You can be that. And they kind of look at me and say, really? And I think that the greatest battle is actually in people's minds. You have to convince yourself that you can do it. Man United fans will hate the Glazers for taking over the Glazers, taking their club. But the thing that I always remember, when I first heard about this man, Malcolm Glazer, I looked him up and there was a quote attributed to him that went something along, the only enemy you have is your mind. And I thought, this is really interesting. If you can win the battle upstairs, everything is possible. Everything is possible.
Absolutely. I just want to read out some of the comments. You've been getting a lot of love in the comments on Facebook. So Shahida says, our favorite guy, yes.
Oh, good old Shahida. I put Shahida on the spot this afternoon in a little meeting. Good. Oh, Shahida, love you.
Mandy's just
Mandy.
Good evening. Mandy,
guten Abend. I should say guten Abend. Wie geht's? Mandy is in Deutschland, in Germany.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mandy. Simone, Lincoln in the Maestro suit, yes.
Simone is in Copenhagen, so wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen, yes. And I just want to say hello to Simone's grandparents who are watching. Guten Abend, wie geht's?
I love it. Oh. And there's loving hearing your stories. And Karen says, yes, always sharp. Oh, and then Metro, welcome to the stream. He's commented saying there's only one Maestro. I totally agree with you on that. He will have a tough time cloning himself. We all love our Lincoln Noel. And because commented saying he's looking razor sharp, amazing. Guys, if you have any comments around Lincoln stories, if you have any questions around them, do drop them in the comments below and we'll be sure to ask them for you today. And also do share this out as well, because like Lincoln has shared so much value around mindset as well. And you never know who that's going to impact. Mandy's just come back on and said, great to be here with you both and the viewers. Amazing. So, Lincoln, go on.
Oh no, I was just listening. I was listening to you. You go for it.
So I was going to say, you got into your dream school. Then what happened?
It's just a good question, because I remember thinking, I've got here, now what? What you know? What sort of people go here? What musical people? What are they like? Are they all going to be clones of Mozart? You know, there's three types of kids. I had watched BBC Young Musician of the Year. I had tried to compete in it the previous year and not got anywhere, which sort of strengthened my resolve to succeed. The people who always win Young Musician of the Year either go to Cheetham Music School in Manchester or Yehudi Menuhin School in London, or they come from regular schools like we did. Music isn't. I know that you played the music, the piano as well, and when we were children, we had opportunities to do much more. That's, you know, keeping music in school is a real challenge for mainstream schools, and all my musical friends are always sort of lobbying their local MPs to keep music live and keep live music in schools, because if there's one thing that I've learned during the lockdown is that everybody needs music. I've done obviously, which is why the Maestro who went global. The live Facebook performances that I've done here on this piano in my humble house in Duston, Northampton, have gone absolutely everywhere, because everybody needs that spiritual uplift, especially in the early days. I know that, you know, we've spoken about this ourselves, and people have found a rhythm as lockdown and the pandemic has sort of kept us in our homes. But I was really genuinely taken aback by the amount of people in numerous places, countries, continents, that tuned in to my performances and everybody else's. We all need that music. There are so many things that we've taken for granted, and I think that when the world opens up, that the arts is going to get a real boost, because people need the arts. They need that escapism. They need that cultural expression. It doesn't matter what class they're in, or creed, race, religion. People need to express themselves. There's one thing that I've seen a lot of in our networking journeys, is that people expressing themselves in their own cultures. You know, I've heard so much Bhangra, I've heard Greek music, I've heard hip hop, I've watched umpteen guitarists, singer-songwriters. The organisation I work for, Music and Hospitals, have done their stuff online as well. There's a lot of music out there, and I know people are going to be desperate to get to those venues and see those. Doesn't matter if it's Coldplay or it's, you know, Billy Bumchum and the Bog Rolls. You know, people want to see. People have missed the exhilaration of a live gig. They really have.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, how have you adapted with the global situation right now?
It's funny. I'm kind of looking back, and people are saying, "You've done ever so well. You've done ever so well." People are sort of assuming from March that I'd be stuck at home watching everything that's on my Sky Plus and watching loose women 4 times a day. And after the first few days, I suddenly realised, number one, that I've got all my piano students that I still teach. I know some of them are watching, particularly Justin. Hello, Justin. Hello, Iona. Justin is from Romania, and he works really, really hard. And I teach them all on camera, and that has been brilliant as a residual, one way of earning residual income. I have done performances and events online on Zoom. I've hosted 4 or 5 book launches as a master of ceremonies, compare. And of course, I do my commemorative telegrams, which I thank Emily Fennell in Canada for. We were having a conversation at the beginning of lockdown, and she said that she was going to do some birthday shout outs. And I said, what are they? She said, I play like a mini concert, or I sing happy birthday with my guitar or play the piano. And I said, I just said, very tongue in cheek, can I borrow that idea? And she said, yeah, just put your own spin on it. And a few days later, for a lady who comes to Cafe Brio in Oney here in Northamptonshire, sort of Bedfordshire, so on the east side, she asked if she saw a Facebook post and asked if I'd play something for somebody she knows. And away we went. So what I've been doing is put in the music of choice for the recipient. So whatever the person who's receiving the telegram likes, I play their music. It's not me just playing 3 random tunes. I mean, I'm dressed up because I've just been recording a telegram for somebody that wanted George Michael, Kylie Minogue, and what was his Squeeze, and somebody else wanted Disney, Hamilton the musical, The Lion King, and The Entertainer. It's amazing how diverse people's tastes are when you nail them down to songs. You know, I've not played a lot of classical music. I always say this, but I haven't been asked to play a lot of classical music. It's just that I want to play the music, and this applies to the weddings that I've done. I want to play the music from the world of the people that are in front of me. So, you know, if somebody's listening to Kylie Minogue, I played Samantha Fox's hit, Touch Me, I Want to Feel. I played that last night as well, alongside the Dynasty theme tune, along with, and I also played Madness. I've played Soft Cell. I've played Billie Eilish, the Beastie Boys, the theme tune to The Archers. Somebody wanted Carmen, the opera. And I know Simone's folks love the ballet, and I've played all the ballets for their anniversary. So people just have contacted me and said, you know, we've got Mother's Day coming up, of course, which I have to talk about. So, folks, if you're watching and you've got a mother that deserves the maestro's musical brilliance, everybody else's words, not mine, on a telegram, get in touch and I will play whatever it is. I mean, I'm going to do one with some Cliff Richard and Elvis after we've done this interview. So, you know, it's just lovely to play music and speak to people on camera, put that in a little package which goes onto a WhatsApp video or on a private YouTube link. You know, if you Google me and go on YouTube, some of them are out there in the public domain, because I know some people are very proud of their telegrams. But it's become a thing that people have really taken to. So because we can't see one another, so here's a little something that will last forevermore.
It's personal too.
Extremely.
I just want to take it back to your live gigs, because you've played in places that some musicians would only even dream of. So after you left college, what was your journey like then?
Well, it actually started when I was still at college. So in my second year, there was a really good singer who asked me if I would accompany her for a Salvation Army event. And there were some very sort of well-to-do people there. And I ended up doing another concert And then I went up to Manchester to play for a cultural festival in Moss Side, which was great. And then I got a call to play in the West End. Giana Mcgregor, who is the head of piano studies at the Royal Academy of Music, was just starting out as a concert pianist and was writing for theatre for income, and came across this particular show that she was writing about an activist called Paul Robeson, American activist, who made the song Old Man River very, very famous in Sanders of the River and Showboat. They were going to put this show on at the Young Vic. They needed a black pianist who was classically trained. And my teacher, Alex Kelly, who was the head of piano at the time, said to Joanna, I think I've got your man. And I got the call. So my flatmate said to me, my flatmate had just been on Opportunity Knocks. So he'd been on TV and he'd been out there and met lots and lots of celebrities. And he said to me, Lincoln, you've got nothing to lose from going for this. And I thought it was just, I didn't know it was a West End show at the time. It was just a little show. And I thought, I've never done theatre. I've never been on a theatre stage. Even in the school productions, I never got on a stage. I was always the orchestra. So
were you nervous?
Terrified. More terrified when I met the cast, because there were 9 guys in the cast and 7 of them I'd watched on TV in the previous 10 days. I'm not going to mention any names, but one had been on Curry, one was on EastEnders, one was in Only Fools and Horses, one was in Crossroads, and one was featuring in an advert that was playing the whole time. One was in Saturday Superstore, which was going live, that was bigger Saturday morning TV. So when you live out in Middle England like we do, and you're suddenly with people who are famous, the kind of people that would impress your neighbours. If the neighbours see me on TV with these people, they'll say, my God, he's made it. I remember saying to my dad, ringing my best mate, Ian Murphy, who's over in the States, and saying, you never guess who's on this. And rang my parents and you never guess who's on this. And then, like, within a couple of days, these were my colleagues. So I got over I couldn't sleep for the first day of rehearsals. I couldn't sleep. I was just anxious, excited. And suddenly we were all there on the reading day, and the whole team was there, the designers, the publicity, and I had to join the Musicians Union, and someone said to me, can you come early tomorrow, because we want to do something for Thames Television. And I said, oh, Thames Television. And the lady who turned, there was a lady called Patricia Ingram that used to read the news. And I loved that woman. And I got into the rehearsal studio, and she stood there. She got some jeans on and a lovely jumper. She smelled wonderful. And I went, oh, hi. And she said, are you okay? And I just went, you're gorgeous. This was a lady that I'd seen on TV, and she was going to be interviewing me for my first ever TV appearance. And this camera was pointing at me, and there were loads and loads of big white lights. And then there was a man who looked very serious. He had you get these guys, they've got millions of lines on their foreheads. And he sort of looked at me and looked at the camera, and then he said, okay, start when you're ready. And I played the intro for the song, and Leon, who was playing the lead, sang, and we did it all the way through. And Trisha was beaming at me, and I thought, Trisha Ingram's just smiled at me. And everything was going, and they said, great, thank you very much. And I went, oh, is that it? And then after that, TV never bothered me. TV, BBC, ITV, Radio 4. We could be live. We could be live going worldwide. Well, we are going worldwide. This will be watched everywhere. But yeah. I have no fear at all. After moving that first step over the threshold and thinking about it, once it became my norm, I thought, well, this is just like everything I've ever done.
Yeah. It's just on a different scale.
Yeah, that's it. It's the same thing. I mean, I'm talking to Rohini. I mean, I didn't sleep a wink last night. I've told everybody today. You'll never guess what. I'm being interviewed by Rohini. They go, oh, what are you? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You have a little bit of adrenaline, a bit of an adrenaline rush, and then You know, when this comes on and the countdown, I was watching it on this. I've got a little screen down here, and the countdown goes. I'm thinking, you know, if you'd have had some theme music, that would have really got me going. But yeah, you've got to have that. You've got to have that adrenaline rush. But otherwise, you can't do this properly. You know,
Yeah.
you watch footballers in a tunnel, athletes before the race, especially the 100 meters. That's a big ticket event. It's the big ticket event of the Olympics, the World Championship. You know, Usain Bolt and all the other guys, and they're there standing at the line, and they can see themselves on the big screen, and the announcer says in lane one, you know, or you see the boxers, Sky Sports, and the MC talks about how much this guy weighs and how many centimeters tall he is, and he's done this, and he's done this, and he's done this, and he's done this, and then he says his name, and the crowd are cheering. Those kind of moments, if you can't get excited when those moments happen, then you just can't do it at all. And I remember thinking, this is TV, this is mainstream. I may never get another opportunity to do this. I'm going to enjoy it. You know, Cilla Black's over there, Michael Parkinson's over there. This is amazing. I'm going to dine out on these stories. And as everybody who knows me knows, I have dined out on these stories. But the thing is that you have to enjoy these moments because you never know what's around the corner, you know. So, you know, playing for the Queen, Diana, Prince Charles. I had 2 goes with the Queen actually. Once at Windsor Castle, once at the Albert Hall. You know, once you see these people, that you realise they're just regular people. They're just regular people. Duke of Edinburgh and the Prince, Duke of Edinburgh and Queen Elizabeth II. I like my brides and grooms I play for. I always say to my brides and grooms that they are my king and queen, or my prince and my princess. So it's somebody in a lovely dress that looks fabulous, that smells lovely, with a face full of makeup, that can't walk on their high heels. And that's my royal person right there. So every time I play, especially when I'm playing for parties, private parties, somebody's 30th, somebody's 40th, or an anniversary or a corporate event, there's somebody quite important, and they are the most important person for me right there. Just as I thought, I translate the energy, translate the energy from the royal situation to every situation, because actually we're all human beings and everybody is important. This is their, you know, fireside moment.
How did you channel those nerves? And I guess the reason I'm asking this is because there's going to be a lot of people watching this who maybe feel a bit nervous before they go into that big meeting or they go to that big event that they've just organised, and they're thinking, oh my God, is this going to work out? And coming from a performing background myself, like I had my techniques of channeling my nerves. What are yours?
I think the most important thing is to be prepared. Be really prepared. When I did Robeson, I was extremely prepared and I believed in my own ability. You have to back yourself. You must back yourself. Prepare, back yourself, take a deep breath, go for it. Sometimes if I'm in a really, I think the last time I was in a huge situation. I was playing a piano concerto 3 years ago, to Christmas 2017. I was playing Rhapsody in Blue, and that situation. There's a pupil I used to teach, Russell Richards, who always used to say, "You're right on the edge of your ability." That was probably the one situation where I was tested to the max, mentally, emotionally, musically, technically, energetically, and just had to prepare, run the scenario through in your head, back yourself, go for it. You must go for it. The more times you go for it, the easier it gets.
100% with that one.
Yeah.
It's like saying that practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you played in front of the royal family, but you kind of mentioned it as if to say, like, yeah, they're regular people. to a lot of people watching this, they're thinking, wow, the royal family, was that the big time for you?
It was the first time I did the Queen. I did the Queen. The first time I was with the Queen at Albert Hall, that felt like the big time because that was my first year at the Royal Academy of Music. I remember thinking, this is what I came to the Royal Academy of Music for. That was a real big deal because it's the Royal Albert. I mean, I had played at the Royal Albert Hall before. It was the Royal Albert Hall. It was the Queen. When the Queen is there, the Metropolitan Police are out in force. There's helicopters. There's security. You know it's important. Everyone's nervous when they meet the Queen. I met a journalist called Matthew Paris, an ex-Conservative MP. We just happened to be on Five Live together, and he had just been following the Queen for 2 days, and he wrote an article about being with the Queen. And when you're the Queen, and I liken this to Manchester United, because they are the box office team. Wherever the Queen goes, or wherever Manchester United play, the best of everything is there. So when the Queen's there, everybody turns out. If she comes to where you live, school children are there, the MP's there, the mayor's there with his fluffy red. He doesn't just have his chain on; he has his fluffy red outfit with the fluffy hat. The business leaders are there. The OAPs are there. They sweep streets. They sweep the streets like the streets have never been swept. The weeds are chopped down. You know, the weeds just disappear. Everything magically disappears. And the Queen must think that all of Britain is perfect because wherever she goes, it's perfect. If Manchester United are playing your team, especially for those of you who follow teams like I do, not like Northampton Town, if Northampton are playing your team, they are the big box office. Everyone wants a ticket. There's more hamburger sellers. There's more scarves being sold. There's more chit chat. There's more press. You know, there may be 12 guys from all the local newspapers writing on the cobblers. You know, I've been to Old Trafford and seen Man United play some of their biggest games. Man United, Barcelona, Man United, Real Madrid. There's you know, I was watching through my binoculars. There's 200-300 journalists. That's just the written press. And I counted all the cameras. There's all the cameras. So when you play for the Queen, it does feel big time because everything's kind of top drawer. Everything is absolutely A1. But in my head, I believe I treat every situation I play in as if it's A1. So, you know, if I'm playing in London, I think the last royal thing I did, the Duchess of Gloucester for Music and Hospitals in London, Livery Hall, perfect grand piano. All the glitterati of London are there, and everyone's on their best behaviour, and I've got to be on my A game. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to translate this level of energy to every time I play and every time I appear. So every situation feels important. So, you know, I've said it once, I've said it before. Every time I go to work, I'm always dressed for work. I've never, ever played the piano in public in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. Never. Because I want the people, even if I'm playing in the pub, and the people here in Northampton, in Dustin will know, play at St. Crispin's Club Down, which is literally 5 minutes down the road. When I turn up to play, I'm dressed like this. If I'm at the festival hall, I'm dressed like this. If you know, Biden comes to watch me play, I'm dressed like this. I always bring my A game to, you know, to the situation because I think everybody deserves. I've got this thing. When I was going through the stages of being a pianist, I noticed there was this kind of tier system, class system, in my early London days. Is that, you know, the people that had the most money and the most power and the status, they got the best of everything, and everybody else kind of got the dregs. So the ordinary man on the street, if he asks me to come and play for him, I'm going to behave with him and her the same as I will with the man at the top of the game. Once we agree a price, etc., etc. What I'm going to do. I think you got to show up. You got to show up with energy and enthusiasm every time. Because you're gonna in my game, you make a difference to somebody somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to read out a few of the comments that we've had. Simone has commented saying, "You're a legend in Denmark." And is saying, "Yeah, it's the same here in Essex." Simone again saying, "Your videos are everything." So I know Simone's had a few telegrams from you, which is your videos really are incredible because they're fully like entertaining. And then she goes, "I love your stories about Princess Diana."
Well, it's interesting. Princess Diana, I saw her 3 times at the Academy. The first time, it's funny you talk about the Queen, had more of an impact when I met Princess Diana because she was famous, really famous. When she came to the Academy in 1985, she was famous. Wherever she went, there were 400-500 photographers. Whatever she did made the front of the newspaper. And a week, 10 days, I think, before I met Princess Diana, Michael Jackson came to Madame Tussauds next. And Madame Tussauds is literally 100 yards from the Royal Academy of Music. And this was my first opportunity to see what fame looks like. Michael Jackson, world famous, hadn't toured for a while, came to unveil his waxwork. London went mad.
Yeah.
When Diana appeared, London went even madder. Diana was just so cool, so glamorous, so elegant, and yet there's this machine gun fire going on around her with all these photographers. I remember going, and this thing, I went into central London the next day, and there's your newspaper seller, and he's got every paper from Tokyo to Auckland to Sydney, New York, Los Angeles, London, Paris, and they've all got her on the front. And I thought, wow, so that's what fame looks like and feels like. And I remember sort of seeing her close up. With Prince Charles, and they just take it all in their stride, and they always have time for everybody. When they're talking to you, you are the only person that matters. And I learned so much from that. I thought, when I'm dealing with people, they have got to believe that they are valued. Nobody. I think that's the point I wanted to make earlier about the clothes I wear. I don't want anyone to feel that they are an afterthought. They are an afterthought. They are not. That's the one thing I learned from the royal family. Diana, Prince Charles, I know Prince Andrew's fallen down. Prince Edward, Princess Anne, I met through the National Autistic Society. These people, they really have got terrific people skills. We can learn a lot from them. I know that Harry and Meghan have done the Oprah Winfrey thing, but they are people. They look after, they deal with their people and make them feel valued. They're brilliant at that.
Absolutely. Guys, we've got about 10 minutes left, so if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. Be sure to ask them for you today. Broadcasting live across LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So yeah, get your questions in. So Lincoln, what is next for you then? So I know you mentioned you've got your book coming out, you've got a course as well. I've even seen that you've got an online event teaching other people to become maestros.
Yeah, so you want the course is called So You Want to Play Gigs. Let's do it. I'm just filming the videos. It'll be modules, and I will be discussing the tools you need in your kit bag if you want to perform. There's this assumption that Lincoln is this hugely talented person, and guys, yes, I am hugely.
You are pretty amazing.
No, that is one aspect of the job, right? Your ability. You've got to make sure that you work hard at your craft, but you are of no use to anybody if you don't get yourself out there. One thing I did in my early days was I advertised wide. I decided to be a piano teacher. I put postcards in all of the shops in Dustin. And then 2 weeks later, I sat up all night drawing treble clefs on these postcards. And every newsagent in Northampton had a postcard advertising my piano teaching services. So anybody that wanted piano lessons came straight to me. And I befriended Steve and then Phil at St Giles Music Shop. So anybody that bought a piano, Steve would say, "Have you got a piano teacher? Go to Lincoln." So people were coming to me. They weren't coming to me because I was the best, or there was, I was in the frame. People got, networking with the people that matter. Massive. And that's something I'm going to talk about in the course. You've got to engage with other people. You can't be this sullen artist, that's just for show. If you've got something and you want people to access it, get yourself out there. And I'm going to talk about all of this. You've got to build a team of useful people around you. If you can't do your calls and your admin, you need a VA, to take those calls. Because if people are trying to get hold of you and you're busy, you've got to be able to communicate. You've got to know a strategy about pricing. People take you seriously if you have a pricing strategy. We're in an age where, people want to know, can he do it? How much does he cost? Where do I pay? And then you do it. And you've got to give people an opportunity to find you and engage you instead of just being wishy-washy. So, yeah, great on the piano, but I have to, I haven't been sitting idle in the pandemic. I was 16 or 17 networking groups that I've been going to regularly with Shaquille and with Zoe. There's the V Team Referrals Network that are global. There's my coach Lisa in Pennsylvania, and Kelly and Tammy and Marika. There's the South Coast Networking. There's Mumpreneurs, the Portsmouth Business Exchange, Portsmouth Business Builders. I show up week after week after week after week after week. I was reading, there's a footballer called Joey Barton, who's a little bit temperamental, a bit naughty, and I was reading his book the other day, and there's a chapter about making it. And he said, when he went to Manchester City, he was the fittest guy at the club. He was the fittest guy at the club. He was ready. If he was not going to be in the team, it was because somebody else was fitter than him. So I say to everybody that if you want to be the maestro or beat the maestro, you've got to work as hard as I have worked to get to this point. Yeah, nobody gives it to you. Don't think I'm sitting there smoking Havana cigars and saying, you know what will I play today? Up with the sun, get up, do what you got to do your drills, do your practice, do your networking, get out there, meet the people, engage. It's a two-way street. Understand the people, value the people. The people will value you. Put in a good day's work. Put in a good day's work. Graft. Put in a good day's work. Respect everybody. And then it'll all happen. So there you are. I've just sold the course. I'm talking on Eventbrite this Saturday, 1:00, Saturday the 13th, Saturday the 20th. Free to enter. I will stick the links underneath on my Facebook page. I should have got those all set for you, but I will at a later date. Or just go on Eventbrite and look for Lincoln Noel the Maestro, and I won't be far away. Or just Google Lincoln Noel the Maestro. There's only 7 of us, and the other 6 are ugly. So you'll know it's me. You'll know it's me.
Sorry, the one and only maestro. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Lincoln, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to you guys, the viewers, and everyone who's commented for joining us today. Really appreciate you guys being here.
Brilliant.